Okay. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sayeda Habib. Many of you probably do not know me because we have not. This is my first actual call, but I have been in the coaching world for about 20 years, and I work in the trauma space. But it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here and to actually be hosting this. So just I don't know who's joining us outside of the ICF, but just to kind of talk about the ICF for a couple of moments. The International Coaching Federation, I've been a part of them since 2005, and I can attest to the fact that they hold very, very high standards for the coaching profession. And frankly, it's a privilege that we are working towards creating a chapter here, and inshallah, we will do so in Pakistan very shortly. And they make sure that not only do the coaches hold the highest standards, but the trainings that they receive are also the highest standards. So just wanted to say that. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Adnan, who I've had the privilege of meeting once, Mr. Adnan Hussain. He is a coach, a trainer, and an educator with 25 years plus experience in sales and commercial leadership. And he has been coaching for quite some time. And his expertise is not only in teaching coaching, but NLP, emotional intelligence, generative change, and mindset maps. So over to you, Adnan.
All right. Thank you very much, Saida, for the generous introduction. Incidentally, Umar, if you'd remember, the first session that we had from the ICF members in Pakistan platform, the very first presentation, that was also done by me. So it's good to be back after 2 years, and we're starting the second year. So almost the second year. So good to be here and good to be back. Um, Before we start, can we just, I mean, I request if it is possible, you don't have to look at me, but I want to look at you guys. So if you guys can open your cameras, it will really help me because I will have an audience that I can, look at and I'm an NLP guy, essentially. My first training was in NLP. I need to look at people's eyes and their expressions because that tells me a lot. So thank you very much for opening your cameras, those of you who have, and have not. I'm sure a lot of beauty that's hidden, and hopefully someone has found it out. So all right. So I was talking about being nervous when we just started out. So I'll just create that nervousness for myself so that I am on track. The way this discussion is going to work is that I have a presentation, and I really request you guys to hold off your questions unless there is some concept that you don't understand, because I'm going to build it up. Uh, and I would really request that you hold it off, and once we're done with it, please come back and I will answer every question that is related to this thing. If there is a question that needs an immediate answer, please raise your hand, and I will come back to you after I'm done with that part. Uh, cool. Are we all good? Can you hear me properly? Okay.
Yes.
This is my way of relaxing myself. Okay. So Viktor Frankl and a lot of other people who worked in personal development space, they found this very difficult word, and the word is later on, but essentially there are two things that human beings look at. The first thing is what are the sources of diseases, right? And that source of disease is something that is that people have typically been looking for, and uh, that's something called pathogenesis. If you've heard the term, if one of you is a doctor or someone, the opposite of that is something that is called salutogenesis, which is basically there's the aspect where you are finding out, okay, what is causing this disease, and what is really going on that's making me the way I am. And the other way to do look at it is what is it that is going to take me forward from where I am to where I want to be, right? And as they research, and I name Viktor Frankl because some of this research draws roots from Viktor's concepts, though not directly. Um, they found out that there are three core things that essentially define how a person operates and works towards the salutogenesis, right? And those three things were one that you would immediately understand is meaningfulness, right? If there is meaning in something for me, whatever that meaning is, that meaning could be my relationships, that meaning could be my money, that meaning could be anything. But if there is meaning in that thing, I am going to work towards that. If there is no meaning, I'm not going to do it. The second thing that they put in as a pillar for the solution genesis is comprehensibility. Can I understand this? Is this something that makes sense to my map of the world, right? Is that something that I can really take forward and create and build upon, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is what they call the manageability. So I understand this is really meaningful for me. I understand that you know what this is about, but I can't manage it right now, right? For example, I understand that it is really important for many of us to take make the next 100 hours, 500 hours, whatever that thing is for coaching, right? I understand that there's meaning to it, of course, because I'm taking that meaning and becoming a coach, or I am a coach, and that's really meaningful for me. But as of right now, because of XYZ, whatever constraints, commitments I have, I am not able to manage this part. So I'm not going to take go forward towards that. So these three things form the core of what we are going to do today, discuss today. And that is what we call the mindsets, right? And in my work and in a lot of other work, we found out that, and I'm sure you're going to echo this, Umar, okay. I'm sure you're going to echo this. I'm very bad at sharing presentations, but I'll still do this. This is what I would call, can you see my slides?
Yes,
Or,
we can.
yeah. So the this is why I this is what we call the operating system. And this operating system relies on these three things, the solution genesis, which is basically how is my thought process, how is my mind interacting with all of these things and going towards something. And there are basically deficiency part where I'm going to avoid something, and there's something that's moving towards part. And that is why we call the operating system. And the reason I'm structuring this as an operating system is that if you see in your own experiences, and I want to throw this to you as well, when you're working, for those of you who actually work with a client, you'd see that, well, your client is, you have two clients who are being coached by you almost in a similar time, same space, similar background, similar challenges, same quality of coaching in the first place, right? But the problem is that the outcomes and the results after 6 months are extremely different. One has transformed or stepped onto the path of transformation, and the other is still in that loop, right? And this, I'm sure you guys have seen several times in your own lives, right? So one shifted, one did not shift. So that puts the question of what is really, showing up underneath this. And that is where this entire idea of the operating system and how we look at um, all of these people, this shows up. And therefore, what we call it is there's a personality that you have and there's a mindset that you have. And this is what we're going to talk about. So typically, let me just go back. Does anyone do? I'm sure those of you who read fast would have read the slide, but still asking. Anything that you understand between what's the difference between personality and mindset? Anything? Please raise your hand so I can, because I have only a very small window of people that I can see.
Please ask again. I couldn't hear properly.
I'm just asking, what do you think is the difference between personality and mindset? Yes, Kiran.
Mindset would shape your personality, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's a good relationship. But what is mindset? What is personality?
So mindset is possibly the state of mind that you're in at a particular point in time. Your personality is who you are throughout. So even, for example, someone who is generally positive or upbeat could experience a period where they experience a very different mindset.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. We will come to it.
Maybe if I could.
I'll just take Bakhtiar Saab's comment and then I won't keep it two-way. Bakhtiar Saab, you're mute.
Yeah, the way I look at it, the personality is the outer expression of who you really are, while mindset is really who you are.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction. One that is slightly different to what I'm saying, but I'll just come back to it. Can I just move on, because I just wanted to take a couple of comments, else it will stay here. So is that okay, Umair and Nazia and Sayeda? Right, thank you.
Sheen made a very interesting comment, and I'd like to highlight that, where she said mindset is a set of beliefs, thoughts, actions, and behaviors. Very well said, Shaveen. Just wanted to comment.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that comment as well. I think so. The way we look at it, or the way I've come to understand based on so many other modalities, is that uh, mindset is essentially literally so if you look at a mobile phone, for example, you have the mobile phone, which is basically your Samsung or your iPhone, right? And now the iPhone runs on certain apps. So you have on an iPhone, you have apps, for example, your Gmail, your calendar, your email, your Candy Crush, whatever it is. And then at the same time, that app needs to be grounded in a system that will talk to the hardware and that will talk to the app on which your app actually runs. And that is what your mindset is. So your personality is essentially that CPU, that hardware that really carries the load, right? It is your temperament center. It is a lot of learned as well. It is also a lot of genetics as well. The temperament and the traits that you have, the fixed wiring that you have, and it's typically how you go across your life, right? If you are typically a calm person, you can get angry, but that's how you are typically. If you're typically a very excited person, that's how you are typically. And the personalities typically do not change as much. However, when it comes to the mindset is that software that can be updated. And when I say software, I'm talking about literally the operating system on which the app runs. So if you have used both an iPhone and an Android, for example, or a Windows PC and a Mac, you know that the two operating systems run very differently, behave very differently, and have very different set of interactions. They look similar, right? But they both have limited same things, but they're very different when it comes to actually interacting with the app, right? And therefore, this particular part sits below everything that you actually run on that computer or on that mobile phone. So unless you have that operating system really handled properly, that operating system will not let you run that app properly. If the OS crashes, The app may be fine, but the system will still crash, right? So you need the hardware, you need the apps, but what you essentially need is that operating system that talks to the hardware and to the apps and decides what is the best behavior going forward at this point in time. And that is why I call this coaching the mindset. Now, what we already know is that if you're an ICF coach and if you've done that bit of coaching, of course, you'd know that typically the journey of an ICF coach starts from coaching the what and then going towards the who, right? Okay, so when you're early on, you've done your level one education. We're only talking about, okay, you want to talk about procrastination, great. Let's talk about procrastination. What's really going on? I'm procrastinating. Okay, what are the barriers? What can you do? Can you make a checklist? Basic what coaching, goal oriented, perfectly fine. As you mature, you start to go towards the who part. Okay, so who will you become when you start to be on time, for example, when you start to achieve those goals. Now, between this what and this who, there is a gap. And this who needs to be extended. This who that you want to become is still an identity level thing, right? But your identity sits on certain things that we are literally not um, we are literally sometimes ignoring. And that is where my topic really resides. So you have the on the surface thing. Sorry, my graphic was really bad. And I did not have the third one. You typically find those layers, the on the so above the surface and under the surface iceberg thing, and then I had to have another layer. So I said, oh, I'll do it this way, right? So typically, what you find is you find the spot here, which is the goal and agenda, and you typically keep doing it and so on. The problem here is that under the surface there is the who, which runs perfectly fine, and you want to discover the who. But this who is being defined by how I approach that who. So when we talked about salutagenesis and we talked about meaningfulness, or we talked about manageability, or we talked about comprehensibility, it's that how that is defining the who I want to become. And if you look at your conversations typically and your own conversations with your own self or with your spouse or loved one, especially in the times when you were not a coach, for example, or if you're not a coach still, uh, what you'd see is that we have a vague idea and then we immediately go into this spiral of, oh, how it's going to be? I can't do this. It's not going to happen. Things that we call limiting beliefs, right? Now, those limiting beliefs are essentially your mindsets. These are the things, these are the operating systems that will carry the weight of your personality, the hardware, and carry the weight of the app and enable that entire experience to come through as a person. So if you have decided that I do not have the resources to actually execute this properly, there's no way you're going to be the who that you want to become. So I want to become the most successful coach on the planet, right? But my mindset does not allow me to be that person because I'm stuck in the comprehensibility or the manageability. And I may not even be clear on the meaning part. So what we want to do is that we want to say that let's see where we operate with our clients typically. What we like to operate is this, and I have spent a lot of time coaching the who, and still spend a lot of time coaching the who because I think this is a great important part of who we coach on. The challenge is that if we do that, sometimes it still does not give me the results because I have not and I was not coaching the mindset and the transition that was happening. So this is what the gap is, right? When you're coaching the who and not understanding the operating system behind it, there is this gap, and this is basically who I want to be or who I am versus the behavior that is not in line with who I want to be. And this particular gap is what the operating system is about. And once we've worked through this operating system, once we've understood what this mindset really means and how we operate with this, that changes a lot of perspectives on how we are showing up for clients and how the clients can actually view their own thought processes. Is there any question till here? I know I have a very teaching style, so I'm fine with that.
Adnan, Kiran was asking,
Yes.
so who is that mindset or is that personality?
So the who is a combination of the mindset and the personality. Who is an identity level question, right? So if you are coaching the who, you'll need to understand the mindset of the person that is enabling the who to emerge or stopping the who to emerge. All right. So the way we typically operate it, I want to just really spend a bit of time here, is that basic research shows, not basic research, a lot of research shows that 90 to 95% of our behavior runs on an unconscious automated thing. It's like, an AI before the AI, right? Because it's working, it's a process that's going on, and that's really, if you look at the a software, if you go into your back end working, you'd see there are a lot of processes that are happening behind the scene that you don't even know of, right? And in your brain as well, there are a lot of processes that are happening behind the scene you don't know of, and those are basically those 95% of your behavior that's really really unconscious autopilot. Now, what happens is that when we're coaching people on the thinking level, typically, or on the decision level, right? The first thing to start off with is what really is that awareness that we're talking about? Where is it that we're really going and we're trying to create this shift for our people, for our coaches, for those we interact with, and what is it that they're really thinking, not in terms of thinking that shows up, but what's really going behind this, and how do we coach that? Because once we start to coach that, we start to really make those changes. And if you notice, any good coach actually will ultimately be coaching those aspects. So when someone says, I procrastinate a lot, and you can ask the question, well, who would you be if you're not procrastinating? And they'll come up with that identity. But at the same time, as a coach, what you're trying to really uncover is, how do I get this person to bring this barrier, whatever that barrier is, that's not letting this person be the person that they want to be? And how do we work around that? What's really behind us in the surface? So, what I'm really saying is, when you start to work with the who, unless you work with the mindset, the how of it, right? And remember, the how of it is that we're going to talk more, but the how of it has to do these three checks. Is this meaningful? Is this manageable? Is this understandable or comprehensive, or something that I can understand? And most people get stuck because they can't seem to understand one of these things. Most clients get stuck, and most coaches stop at the meaningful part. And we've been trained. I'm a coach trainer, right? And we run an ICF level 2 program and level 1 program. And I know that we focus a lot on, okay, what is meaningful for you here in this discussion? And that's a beautiful question to ask. But what about, okay, what is manageable for you here? How do you understand the situation in the first place? Because once you start to look at those things, you have tick marked all three boxes of how my client is actually going to show up when that change occurs. And until that happens, we really do not have the full, um, let's say, agency on the results. right? So that agency is developed once you start to have these three checkboxes. And that is part of one, when we start to create that awareness beyond meaningfulness, but also on these three things. And once you look at that, you start to see, all right, where are the mindset challenges? And that's how this conversation starts to happen. The idea is that this 95% can be reduced from autopilot, can be reduced to a substantial number, or the conscious level of working, of living, of decision making can be achieved in the process. So any questions still here? Is there anything in the chat?
No, we're good right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So now what this operating system does is, and those of you who have done NLP, it will look similar. But you know, the neuroscience and the way we all learn. I was in my training last night, and my mentor, Lisa, she was talking about uh, language, and she was talking about how the somatic work works and how people are picking up things, and you know how they're creating that reality. And she does not have an NLP background. So it's really, you know, very universal when you look at those things. How do we really look at all of these things that's possible? The first thing is that meaning is a constructed thing. Reality is literally a constructive thing, a construct of our mind. When we give meaning, that meaning is how we think that meaning is, right? And once we understand that, we are able to understand how the client and how we as a coach, we are able to look at the meaning and how we are going to come across. So human brains are essentially predictive machines, right? They take data from the past, they create a meaning, and then they predict, right? So there is data from the past. The brain remembers how it felt when that event occurred, and therefore it creates a meaning and then operates with that assumption going forward. The second thing is that we really have a huge negative bias. You know that old story, old joke, or old thing that said, you know, if a dog bites a man, it's not a news, and if a man bites a dog, it's a news, right? We look for, okay, what's not working, what's broken, right? The pathogenic mindset. So we're constantly trying to avoid negativity. But what that does is it creates this negativity biases. So even when there's a neutral data, because we are constructing meaning, we will continue to look at it from that bias, from that mindset and thought process. And we do that. Why do we scan for those negative things? Is because we want to be prepared. And that's where the preference for certainty comes in. So once we have a negative outcome and we have a confirmation that this happened once, we're good. We're like, okay, this is always going to happen. And therefore, human beings, human mind will always prefer safety over growth, which is what we call the comfort zone, right? Because we always want to have our safety ensured in all places. That is why most people are risk averse, not because they don't want to do it. It is meaningful for them. But the problem is they don't understand the thing completely. So the certainty is missing, the comprehensibility part is missing. They're not able to really create what's really, how this is really going to work in the situation. And they translate that into a manageability problem. I just don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if I should leave my job and start the business. I don't know whether I should marry this person or that person. I'm not sure how I'm going to, handle my kids' emotions. That's not a manageability problem. That's a comprehensibility problem. It's masked as manageability because it needs certainty. So the good question to ask is, what if you knew about this? What if you had the whole information available? Would you still be able to do it? And then the manageability part will come in, right? So again, the three checks that I'm talking about. And therefore, this brings me to one last part, and then I'm going to talk about really what the operating system is about. So there are three mindsets. There's the action mindset, that's a beta mindset, which is when you're really focused. That's a different kind of mindset. That's a different kind of brain wave that's going on. There's the calm, grounded awareness, mostly your habits. Oh, this is a piece of cake. Oh, what do I have to do? I just have to go there, open the fridge, drink a glass of water. And then there is the theta mindset, which is essentially that big picture, that creativity. All right, I what do I want to build? What do I want to create? And the thing is that different kinds of mindsets need different kinds of brain waves and cognitive frequencies. You cannot be creative in a beta brainwave frequency, right? You cannot have execution done in this big picture, slow, deep creativity thing. You need to go fast, right? And you cannot have basic changes when it comes to an alpha mindset. When the person is, okay, I want to follow a routine, and you're saying, okay, let's focus on execution, because the person's brain wave is not tuned with that at that point in time. So we need to understand at that certain point in time what kind of mode our client is. And the way we've done it is that we have made it easier for you, and that's where the three levels of mindset come in. So the way we look at it is that there are three levels of how mindset operates. The first one is the meta mindset. This is the identity level questions. Who do I want to become? What do I want to achieve? What's my purpose? What's the meaning behind this? Right? And that's your big picture meta mindset. You can also understand this from three things that you said in terms of the meaningfulness. What is meaningful here? How do I look at this from this perspective? Right? The second thing is the macro mindset, which is basically what are my habits of success? How do I get things done when I get things done? What is it? What are the resources that I typically fall back on when I'm getting things done? What are the people? Who are the people? What are the resources? What are the habits? How do I approach a certain situation? This is your comprehensibility part. How do I understand the world that I operate on a daily basis, and how do I interact with that world? And the macro mindset gives me all those things. The micro mindset is my ongoing beliefs about my macro and meta mindset. My daily beliefs. I can't do this. Well, I'm going to be late today. I don't know. I mean, you sometimes find people who are really stuck in basic stuff, right? For example, how do I just can't manage my day today. I just don't know what to do, and they're stuck. Very, very small question. Until someone comes and says, "Oh well, haven't you thought of it this way?" And when as coaches, we have this all the time, right? You see a client, and the client is stuck in something, and you want to punch the client and tell the client, my friend, this is the solution, right? That's coming from those micro beliefs and the micro mindset that is impacting the macro and the meta mindset as well. So, and this micro mindset is that 95% of the unconscious autopilot behavior that we're talking about. Because they really, they just come in and they really interpret and they really push you in terms of making you think that, all those beliefs and all those things. So your big picture clarity, your habits of success, and your ongoing beliefs. Your big picture clarity brings you towards meaningfulness. Your habits of success bring you towards comprehensibility. Your ongoing beliefs bring you towards manageability. So if you really want a salutogenic mindset for your client or for yourself, you have to understand what part or what level of mind. And if I would go back, and so on the beta mindset, that's where your micro works in. On the alpha mindset, alpha brainwave, that's where the macro works in. And in the theta space, that's where the meta mindset works in. So really, how the person is going to operate, what is the meaningfulness, what is the comprehensibility, and what is the manageability of this, which means what level of mindset is this person working on, which means how do I impact this mindset so that this person moves to the next one, moves to the outcome that the person wants. And because I do a lot of mindset work, and this is adopted by from some of the mindset work that I do, what you realize is that if these are not aligned, right? If there's big picture clarity, but micro is missing, micro mindset is missing, you still cannot get results. If there's micro mindset that's outstanding, if there's mindset that's outstanding, but you do not have habits of success, it's still not going to work. And this is the cross-level conversation that we typically need to have. If there's a strong meta, very weak micro, person's vision, but there's just big dreams, there's no follow through. And so we see a lot of people who have amazing ideas, right? And they're still not there because the habits of success, the macro mindset was missing. They never worked on those things. Similarly, there's a very strong macro. Habits of success are there, but the person keeps stopping at certain thing because the belief is, well, I'm just only good for this level, not beyond this. That's the misaligned micro. Execution is very good, but there are limiting beliefs in the rule. And sometimes there's very clear micro, but there's absent meta. I feel I'm a great coach. Great, perfect. Now, what do you want to do with that? And we have no idea. I think have you seen those people? We call them, these are people who are just talking big because they're always talking big about themselves, but the results are not there. That's because the meta mindset was never there. So they didn't know how to channel this energy, these amazing beliefs that they have about themselves into a future pathway. So sometimes people do not struggle because they have limiting beliefs. Sometimes people struggle because they don't have a path forward to actually to take those limiting beliefs and bring them towards something meaningful. And that's why this conversation that we have when it comes to mindset happens with these three things combined, linked to each other. And we check of what really is going on under the hood. So the who question will work better when you have these mindsets in your understanding and knowledge. And when you have taken your client through the routes of meaningfulness, manageability, and comprehensibility. And that's where a lot of coaches sometimes do not go. They stay in the meaningful part, they stay in the who part, but what's really going on sometimes limiting belief in terms of my belief about myself, but just lack of vision. And sometimes it's a lack of vision in terms of destination. And sometimes it's a lack of vision in terms of direction. We know where we want to go, but we don't know what we want to achieve. So that's a different conversation. But This is how the entire thing works. So I think the second last thing is that we based on research, and this is based on a lot of research, and you can read through this. There's Robert Dilt's book, 3 books I think now, called the Strategies of Genius. There's part one, part two, part three, I think. And there's something called, based on that, there's something called success factor modeling. What are the success factors that people in different domains, what are the personality traits, what are the behavioral aspects that people have done to be successful in the area that they work on? Now, those could be people like Elon Musk, and those could be people like Muhammad Yunus, right? It doesn't matter. The point is that people typically will have outcomes in coaching related to these things. I want to have this more inner peace, more personal satisfaction. I want to make contributions to the world. I want to achieve greater innovation, resilience. Sometimes it's a real challenge. Like, I want to have financial robustness, independence, operational robustness, or I want to have something that I can build and grow. Right? In my experience, most outcomes will fall under one of these things, especially if you're doing corporate coaching. Sometimes they would not. For example, my coaching conversation today is about, let's say, I am just going through really hard time. I had a loss. I have had a couple of personal losses, and or I've lost a job. So in that container of that session, it may not go through, but ultimately we come back to this outcome as a big coaching container. This is what I've experienced, learned, and used a lot. Obviously, very, very, very at a very subtle level, but it's confirmed that this is how it works. So I just want you guys, I'll leave you with this particular thought. When you work with a client, which of these outcomes do you think your client works with? Typically, not in a particular coaching call, but as an overall coaching container that they are working with you in. What is the typical level of mindset that they operate? What are they operating on and what are they ignoring? And therefore, what is the mismatch underneath what looks like a typical what or a who problem? So I'll leave you guys with this question and this particular thing, and I'll send you this slide pack as well. So don't worry about that. And I have a video as well that I want to show you guys, maybe along with this slide pack, which is basically first, which mindset needs attention? 2, how do I align these things? 3, what is the language that is enabling me to pick up the pattern that I'm going to operate, that the client is operating with? And once we do all these things, we realize that there's a lot more than just coaching the what for sure, but also extending how we coach the who. And that's really what I want you guys to take away from this. The who will only come alive when the how and the mindset and the operating system enables that who to actually emerge. And so I'll stop here. Just for reference, this is part of um, a training I attended, and I'm a facilitator for this as well, which is called Mindset Maps, and that's a whole avenue of things that we do. But it can be applied everywhere, and I've seen that happening in the past 1.5 years that I've used this for a variety of clients. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm open to any questions and any comments that you guys have. I see there are 14 comments in the chat, so we'll just look at it. Oh, on time. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there any
Any
question?
questions? The floor is open. If anybody would like to ask any questions.
Yeah, Dan, I don't have any question regarding this the topic that you have, but I am more curious. I mean, since you have recently you have acquired your credential also of PCC, and later on you are also doing the training. I mean, if anyone from Pakistan or from around the world who are listening here would like to go forward for having this credentials of ICF, how would you advise them, and what are the options they have in Pakistan?
Okay, this is a so there are two parts, right? There's a credentialing part, and then there's the training part, right? So I'm going to talk because uh, coincidentally, I got my PCC accreditation and my organization's level 2 accreditation back to back, one weekend after the other, right? So I'm not sure which part comes first here, but uh, uh, I should tell you this that in Pakistan, as of right now, we're the only provider who provides both level 1, level 2, and CCE programs. So it's a whatever route you want to take. If you want to take a CCE route towards your level 1, level 2, or whatever, or if you want to take a level 1, level 2 directly, it's all there. Uh, Sabine and I worked a lot on this. Sabine works with me on this, and I know for a fact that when we had this conversation a long time ago, like I think a year now, Sabine, right? And we were at a lunch, and we said, we're just so tired of how coaching education is, especially the options that we have in Pakistan, because we had to go to Dubai or to other places, and that means a lot of money versus what we can afford. And the other thing is that we were also not very excited to see the program quality and content. So I've interacted with a lot of coaches from across the world, and I can tell you this that sometimes I'm like, "What are you coaching?" And I'm being very honest about it. I don't mince my words. People who know
I
me
can
here
vouch
know.
for it.
Ah,
I don't know
I
what
have
we
a
did
part
in
of the
level 1
system
and
as well.
level 2 in CTA, but this was way better, So,
So what we
mm.
did was that when we were creating the program for both level 1 and level 2, um, uh, we 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 went to several coaching schools, several people, several friends that we knew across different coaching schools, and we asked, "What is your feedback on this thing?" So we started off with a 15-day program, brought it down to 6 days, brought it down back to 9 days. What is the async cost? What is the thing? And I think it's pretty robust from that perspective. The other thing that is there is that, and I'm sure a lot of other schools do, but a lot of other schools don't do, is that there's an observation part that you have to do for your coaching client, for your trainees. That's part of the level 1 training, that's part of the level 2 training. It is part of the course. You have to do it as a training provider. And sorry, I didn't do it. As in, I was never observed. I don't have an observed feedback, right? And we do that religiously. We make sure that our participants submit every recording, and they have a peer coaching for 8 hours as coach and 8 hours as a client. We make sure that they submit every recording. That goes for level 1 and level 2 both, right? And even if you are a level 2 who's coming from outside, we still put you through the 10-hour mentoring. Because we need to make sure, this is very, very religious to us, it's sacred to us. We need to make sure that when you are working with a client, you are as a coach in a power position, whatever you want to call yourself, but you are in a power position. The client is being vulnerable. When one is vulnerable, the other person has power. And therefore, you need to have the right tools to do that. So yeah, that's what I can say. One more thing that I do is that the pricing is based on the region that you are, to be honest, right? And that's because uh, I'm pretty expensive as a coach, and versus the international standards, and in Pakistan, I'm pretty expensive, versus the international standards, I'm peanuts, right? So the way I structured the pricing was the money that you pay me if you're at level 1 should be out for you. The investment should be out by the time you do your 100 hours. Right? That's the simplest maths that we can have,
Mm.
right? And so the money that you pay in the market that you are, it should match the 100-hour benchmark
Okay.
for level 1.
Mm.
If it doesn't, I'm expensive, because then I'm asking you to invest more than the return that you will see in 1 year's time. or
what
whatever it
is,
is.
yeah, thank you very much for a very detailed explanation about this. And the idea I think we have all got from this is that yes, of course, it is the ICF coaching credentials. Training for that is now available in Pakistan, and people can approach you or here our ICF forum here. And if anyone is interested to do that, they can now do it from Pakistan. As earlier, we most of us know that we have to do it more with more expensive options through Saudi Arabia or Dubai or from Europe. So that's a good achievement that we have so far now. So
Oh,
if
and we're very proud of it.
yeah,
Very proud of it, because it really puts Pakistan on the world map.
yeah,
Okay, to have a Pakistani company to do that, and it opens doors not only for Pakistan, certainly for Pakistan, but for economies like us,
uh,
right? Where you actually need coaching, right? And that's important.
and by the way, what ICF does also is that
So yes, that
there is a um, uh, on their site they mention all their approved coaching providers, approved coaching training providers. So if anyone is interested, they can validate this from their ICF website, and they can find who within Pakistan is providing CCEs or credential levels 1 or level 2. So I mean, it's worldwide phenomena. It's worldwide they do that. So thank you very much, Dan. That was my question. And if anyone else has any question, they can about the program or
I would just like to speak to this because Adnan, it's a great job that you're doing, that you're providing ICF credential coaching training here, because when I first trained years ago, and since then, actually, there has never been, until now, a training in Pakistan. So I can speak to the fact that, I mean, I've trained from the US and Europe, and it is extremely expensive. And, kudos to you for doing that. And we hope that, inshallah, there will be more and more credentialed and certified coaches. It's a great achievement to achieve that. And just wanted to ask anybody for any last comments so that we can then bring this wonderful session to a close on time.
I have a couple of comments. One about the session you just conducted, Adnan. Excellent, I must say. And
Thank
the
you.
subject still needs more time, I think. Perhaps another time you can have a more detailed session on this. But then I also want to congratulate you on providing this service for people in Pakistan. I remember I second Sayeda. When I got my training, I had to go to a US-based institution, and that was very expensive. I had to save for a long time to be able to attend that. But I think for many coaches to be in Pakistan, it must be a dream come true that they can now have it at a reasonable expense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for both. I think on the coaching front, um, equal, if not more, credit goes to Shabin and the two other people who are not here, but who work with me on the coaching uh, training as well. What we do is, by the way, we don't have a single trainer in any coaching cohort. It's always two people at least, if not three. Because we want to make sure that there are always two different points of view which are coming across, two different ways of working with the client. So that's one. The other thing is that not a long time ago, but when I started out, I paid a lot of money for all the coaching certifications and all the certifications that I've done. And I think it's for their markets, it's a fair thing, but I think for Pakistani market, it's not a fair thing, and it's really hinders how it is. So it's not just ICF level 1, but and not to sell or boast, but the thing is that most of the certifications that we offer through Elevate Life are literally ones that only we offer, and literally cheaper than their US or European counterparts. For example, we offer DILS certificate, which in itself typically will cost $400 for anyone outside Pakistan. But $400 is almost typically the whole cost of an NLP program. So who will pay that? So, we negotiated down, I brought that down, price down further and so on. So you get the same access at a very, very, very good fraction of a price. Same for ICF, same for this, same for mindset maps, same for all those things. Because the idea is that if you want to expand this coaching horizon in Pakistan, we need to have the world-class training at a cost that is affordable for people here. And this is where a lot of population stays. And this is where we need to really make a difference and impact, right? So that's the idea. Kiran, you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, this session was really interesting, genuinely. It was such a good way to understand, things beyond the who, and barriers that one faces even when we are coaching who. And the other thing I wanted to say was I studied with Adnan and Shabeen from Elevate Life, and it was an amazing experience. Like, it opened my mind in directions that I never thought possible. And I just wanted to thank them. And
Thank
it
you.
was awesome.
Okay, so now let's come back to the presentation, right? So any questions on the presentation? Thank you very much, because I really want to talk about the mindset thing as well, because this is a really this is a layered concept, as you said, Bhaktiyar Saab, and as you said, Kiran, and there are a lot of things going on here. So what is the one key takeaway that you think has stayed with you during the presentation?
Adnan, we have like less than a minute.
Oh, we have
So
4 minutes. My voice is 57, 56. All right, we'll take a couple of questions if there are any.
If there is any comment or
There doesn't
question.
seem to be in the chats right now. I'm just monitoring. So there don't seem to be any questions at the minute.
May I offer a comment, Adnan, when you were explaining the process of the 5 focuses and so on? That reminded me of an old quotation. This is ascribed to Mr. Samuel Spice. Sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a character, sow a character, reap a destiny. The whole process is very similar.
Yes. And in my studies of coaching and work, personal development, I've learned that all of these things are different facets of how the same thing comes up. I mean, these are ancient wisdoms. These are wisdoms coming from the East and also from the ancient West as well. And they all show up in the same way. It's about what are my beliefs and how do I ultimately want to create my destiny. And that's a journey that coaching typically should take us, our clients, on to. I have a question in the comments, and that's coming from Samina. Thank you very much. And that says that is it necessary for that only one of the 3 mindsets needs working? Yes and no. So the way we do it is we identify that what is the one mindset that is the weakest link in the 3. I'd rather put it this way: how are they working in tandem to get you where you want to go, to get you to the outcome that you want to have? So if you want to have inner satisfaction, is that a meta mindset challenge or a macro mindset challenge or a micro mindset challenge? And it may be just the relationship between these 3, right? So if we fix that and we start to work with that, that starts to give us a good roadmap of where we want to become. So the mindset will also be informed by the outcome that you want to drive. And for each outcome, the mindset will be very different. So if you were, for example, Elon Musk, what is the mindset that you would have versus if you were Muhammad Yunus, who was previously the chief executive of Bangladesh, but also Nobel Peace Prize, Grameen Bank. That's why we're talking about him. These are 2 very different mindsets. Or Elon Musk or Abdul Sattar Idi, very different mindsets. Both play with money, right? But one wants to build a scalable business, one wants to go to Mars, and one wants to say, well, I want to build the largest fleet of ambulances in the world. So that's what we're looking at, essentially.
Thank you for that. I don't see any more questions in the comments, so I think we can begin to wrap up. Thank you so much for such
Can we have a picture for the LinkedIn page?
Sure.
Yes, please, picture, please.
And by the way, our next session will be on May 22nd. And we will share the details for that in due course. So thank you very much. And what we have to do to make this picture look more fresh and smiley?
Yeah.
We have to smile.
Adnan, can you take it from your PC because there's some problem
It
with
froze.
my...
Okay, just give me a second. Can you smile? Please look at me and smile. See, I'm so
We
nice.
have to look at you to smile.
Well, you can look at yourself to smile,
We
but that's
can
not very
laugh.
self-obsessed, no?
Thank you very
So I have
much.
a picture. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
everyone.
very much, Sayeda. Thank you, Adnan. Thank you, Omar.
Lovely to have you here.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.